I'm always interested in technology. I'm always interested in innovation. Unfortunately, there is a very large correlation between technology innovation and warfare sometimes. And warfare, we've seen amazing things happening this year where more and more AI got into that field of the war theater. I think we're going to see probably even more of that. But I pick out one very specific thing that kind of just made my head explode. It was the explosion of the Hezbollah pagers this year. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where if you would see that in a James Bond movie, you would say, nah, come on, this is just over the top. But when it actually happened, and then you start to understand how this had been planned, an enormous amount of time in the past, where they would start to find ways to influence the people who made these pagers. They start to influence the whole supply chain to make sure that these people in Hezbollah actually got these pagers, and then for a long time they were carrying them around with explosives every single day, and then one day they say, boom, we decide to let them go off. It's one of those moments where actually, if you would see it in a work of fiction, you would think it's completely over the top, but it actually happens. So that's one of the things that I single out. It's not an entirely nice story, but it is something where this is not super high tech. This was actually low tech. But it shows how that world of geopolitics, warfare, technology, innovation is coming together in a really bad way. So that was my number 3 this year.
This year I had to think many times of my third thriller that I wrote. It's only available in Dutch. It was called Hoogverraad, which actually was about
high treason.
High treason, yeah. High treason. It was digital warfare. And, we've seen the pager thing now, but imagine that the same thing would happen with our energy, with our drinking water, with our electrical cars. I mean, if you can do it with 2,000 pagers, you can probably do it with 3 billion smartphones as well, eventually. I mean, this is probably the first step in some crazy stuff, unfortunately, we're going to experience and see and witness in a couple
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think the scariest op-ed piece I read this year, and I've read a few really scary ones, was Eric Schmidt, the previous CEO of Google, who is now actively investing in next generation weapons, where AI is the absolute foundation to build next weaponry for fighting the next wars. And he says, if we want to remain competitive, we can't keep fighting wars with weapons from the past. We're going to have to double down and invest. So I think it was a record year for the war industry at large, and it's probably only going to continue.
Yeah, but I also think, Peter, that one of the challenges is that, and we've seen this with many wars these days, is that the cost of fighting a war is very important. And that's where, when you see drones, for example, I mean, that's a very different type of warfare. And then it brings you back to that cheap factory of China or affordable factory of China, where whatever happens, I mean, China is somewhere involved, and including when you talk, Stephen, about energy. I mean, electricity. I mean, all of our solar panels and all these things are coming from China. So it is becoming geopolitical a very difficult environment, because who's the supplier, who's the initiator, and who's the actually the bad guy and who's the good guy is becoming very difficult to now put that actually have an idea about it.